item is comments by mayor or alderman. Yes. I was told you would be. We're there.
My daughter's in a concert right now, so they're racing to that.
We wanted to give you a certificate of appreciation. So, I'll read this to you. Certificate of appreciation. The mayor and the city council of the United City of Yorkville present this certificate to Beth Warren with our deepest gratitude for the many hours of service that she provides the residents of the city during her years as city clerk from May 2011 through May 2019. Presented on this day, 14th day of May 2019. And close for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure serving and a great honor, so thank you all.
Yep. Okay, the next item will be adjournment of Sendai session.
Yes, just counted, and so adjourned.
So adjourned.
Yes. We
So let's
now,
stop taking.
yes, okay. We now begin the swearing in of our mayor and new alderman. So please come forward, sir.
Me first.
Yes, sir. So that they share the news.
Before I do get sworn in, I do need, where's Mr. Scott Gray? I really saw him here. I do need to turn in my resignation, my vision. You were hoping I wouldn't. Because I actually attended meetings.
I'd like to remind the council today is officially John Paschal Day by resolution of the county board. But the last line is to give him all respect and his due. Remember.
Okay, so these are my children, Josephine, Coco, Molly, and Ben Extendo. They're gonna help me with this, right? So what do I do? I raise my right hand first, right? Okay, go ahead. Repeat after me, correct?
I, John Purcell,
I, John Purcell,
having been elected to the office of mayor of the United City of Yorkville,
having been elected to the office of mayor in the United City of Yorkville,
in the county of Kendall,
in the county of
aforesaid,
Kendall aforesaid,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the
and
duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of mayor of the United City of Yorkville,
of the office of mayor of the United City of Yorkville, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Well done.
Outstanding.
I want to say, aw.
Oh, wait, one more picture. We have somebody late.
Oh, no, we were here on time.
Oh,
Just
okay.
like with the cameras. Sorry. Cheese,
Cheese.
Benedict, thanks. There you go. Good job.
All right, thank you so much. You know, who's next?
All right, you are now taking the chair, so you please ask that all the aldermen come in. Do you want to swear them in together or one at a time?
Oh, I think they'd like to do it one at a time.
Okay.
Please, all the aldermen step forward.
So Daniel, Tangier, you would be first.
Danny, welcome. Thank you. Congratulations.
Let's get your gift back.
Can they wear your robe?
I, Daniel Transit,
I, Daniel Transit,
having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 1, United City of York,
having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 1, United City of York,
County of Kendall, aforesaid,
in the County of Kendall, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office within the Alderman, Ward 1, United City of York,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties of the office of Alderman, Ward 1, of the City of Yorkville,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay, Jackie, we all want you to laugh.
Oh, please, please. I need y'all, so.
Oh, no, Seaver. Seaver.
I, Jack Wilson, do you ready?
I'm ready.
I, Jack Mitchell, having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 2. Ward 2. The city of Yorkville, county of Kendall, aforesaid,
County of Kendall, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and I will support the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderman, Ward 2,
faithfully discharge my duties in the office of Alderman of Ward 2 in
the United City of York,
the United City of York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Someone take a picture of me and my mother.
Nice.
Okay, here. Okay, I'll leave you alone.
I, Chris Monkhouse,
I, Chris Funkhauser,
having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward
having been elected to office of Alderman, Ward 3,
3, United City of Yorkville,
United City of Yorkville,
county of Kendall, aforesaid,
the County of Kendall, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and support the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will support the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I'll faithfully discharge my duties as Alderman of Ward 3,
and I'll faithfully discharge my duties as Alderman in Ward 3,
United City of Yorkville,
United City of Yorkville,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Alexis? Thank you.
I, Seaver Trulis,
I, Stephen Charoulas,
having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 4,
having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 4,
in the United City of Yorkville,
in the United City of Yorkville,
in the County of Kendall, aforesaid,
in the County of Kendall, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderman, Ward 4,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderman, Ward 4,
of the United City of Yorkville,
in the United City of Yorkville,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I, Jason Peterson,
Having been elected to the office of Alderman, Ward 4 in the United City of Yorkville in Kendall County, I do solemnly swear or affirm
wait, I gotta keep going, I can go with it now. Having been elected to the office of Alderman Ward 4 in the United City of Yorkville and the County of Kendall aforesaid, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Alderman, Ward 4
the duties of office of Alderman Ward 4
of the United City of Yorkville,
of the United State of Yorkville
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
This is the agenda. Sweet, good. Now we'll call my first meeting to order. Oh, did I have to yell? Oh, I like that. I like that. Mom's trying it again. May I have roll call, please?
Coe.
Here.
Transier.
Here.
Wilczewski.
Here.
Clocher.
Here.
Funkhauser.
Here.
Readers.
Nay.
Tarulas.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Oh, we're ready to do this, right? Oh, sweet. Well, there may be, before we take recess, there may be amendments to agendas or amendments to agenda.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to move the executive session up before mayor's report takes place.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll have executive session
Yeah.
after the recess.
Right.
Okay, so without any objection, we'll recess. There's cake back there. I get the first piece of my kids, I'm sorry. We are recessed. All right. Ed, look. I made a mistake, my first mistake as mayor. I messed up the agenda, so I apologize. But we do have a short presentation from a college student, and I forget, what's your name? Could you step up to the microphone, is that how that works? Tell me your rules here, please. We have to have you say your name for the record, please, and then you're a student. Is that on?
I think it's on.
Aaron, we're recording. What's that? We can talk about that. You want to sit here? Use this one. You can't get that working. Well, this is for a college program. Nice, thank you so much.
All right. Hello, my name is Raylan Mamrell, and I'm a student at Wabanzi Community College. For my honors project this semester for COM 100, I decided to have a presentation in front of the Yorkville City Council about the effects of construction on the environment and on human health. All right. Okay. Hello, and thank you to the Yorkville City Council for letting me speak today. It's an honor to be in front of you all. And as you can see here today, I will be informing you of the effects of construction on human health and the environment. To start off, I'd like for you all to imagine a typical ecosystem in Illinois, as shown through this food web, consisting of your everyday Illinoisan species, such as your birds, bunnies, foxes, and snakes, all living in kind of peaceful harmony. Amazing, right? It's just what the textbooks portray. Now, imagine some roadside construction. Hi. Okay. Well, now imagine some roadside construction. There will be an increase of construction vehicles on the road, leading to an increase of particulate matter in the air. And coupled along with the displacement of their local habitat, all of a sudden, the beloved bunnies and squirrels are ran over and wiped out. And suddenly, there's an increase in respiratory problems in the area. Sad. Now, imagine some construction to local sewers and waterways. Good intentions for residents to access drinkable and fresh water go wrong when a drain bursts, leaching unwanted chemicals into the soil. Now, herbivorous insects sensitive to the chemicals leached are eliminated from the ecosystem, causing a chain reaction up the web. And if these chemicals lead to our drinking water, we'll be victims of it firsthand. And this, folks, are just two common examples of what construction can do to local habitats and to our health. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that construction should forever halt. Construction for Yorkville is inevitable, especially given our rising population. But we as a society need to minimize our impact as much as possible to be considerate of the other organisms around us and to our health as well. So first, let's look at some of the major construction projects that are happening within the city of Yorkville. Starting with our current projects, we currently have construction along Route 34, as you may all know, and Route 71. Both of said projects both concern themselves with roadside construction. Expanding the road and improving the quality of its being to commuters. However, as you may notice, the path construction, through one form or another, passes over a congested area or a creek or waterway. Therefore, it is important to know that aside from the displacement of habitats and the possible loss of species, as mentioned earlier, an increased amount of particulate matter may enter the air and waterways from the movement of construction vehicles and the loosening of the soil. In regards to the environment, this can lead to poor visibility while driving, increasing the likelihood for an accident. And as for our health, the increase in particulate matter in the air and water can lead to possibly asthma, non-fatal heart attacks, and an irregular heartbeat, just to name a few. It is therefore important to caution construction along roads to ensure that construction does not take more land than needed, does not take longer than needed, and to make sure that construction is as efficient as it can be. Now, on to impending construction projects for 2019. Good. Okay. On the other hand, there are plans to improve the waterways along 2 streets and to impair and install new technology onto a local well and to a water treatment plant. And this one itself has its own set of problems, with one major problem being chemical runoff. And this can be caused by leaky or broken pipes and drains. If unwanted chemicals leach into the soil, it can affect the quality of the organisms that live on the land. Sensitive organisms such as insects, as mentioned earlier, may die out, as they cannot withstand the high concentration of toxins within their bodies. Chemicals can also leach to waterways, causing an event also known as eutrophication, which is basically when the overgrowth of algae in an aquatic system eventually renders the system unhealthy and makes the water unsafe to drink. This can prove deadly for residing residents. Therefore, I urge construction workers to tread with caution when replacing and mending materials, as damage to our waterways can cause detrimental effects that can last for ages, kind of like Flint, Michigan. Hence, construction comes with many risks and dangers, with many of which being unavoidable. However, we can try our best to minimize the impact, whether it be from working efficiently to treating the materials and land use with respect. Hopefully, we can keep our local ecosystems as pristine as possible, not only for our own benefit, but for others that cannot stand for themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns about my presentation? No?
I
All
like
right.
the fact that it was just to the point.
Thank
I've
you.
seen a lot of presentations over the years where people just go on, and I appreciate it. It was very succinct, but made some good points. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Public hearings. Oh, perfect. So we are to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments on agenda items, please? Seeing none. We have no consent agenda, and just so you know, that is something I do not like, so we probably won't have those. I believe if there's something we need to vote on, we can vote on it. Minutes for approval. There's minutes of the regular city council, April 23rd, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion and second. Any discussion? Take a roll call, please.
Bilshuski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Rulis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is bill payments for approval from the current bill list. The amounts are listed, $305,917.20 for FY19 vendors, $252,567.77 for FY20 vendors. Payroll period ending 5/3/19, $286,057.87 for a total of $844,542.84. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. This is something different too, we're gonna do a roll call on all bills. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call, please.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Rulis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Bilshuski.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Now, we have, as Mr. Funkhauser amended the agenda, we're gonna go into executive session for what purposes, please?
Pending litigation
Is there
and personnel.
a
There are
motion?
two, yes.
Do we need to read those verbatim?
No, they're on the agenda. We will accept it as it's written. The purpose being litigation, employment, personnel matters, and we're not going to discuss minutes tonight. So it will be for items 1 and 2 on your agenda.
Is there a motion? So moved. Second. There's a motion, second. This does require a roll call,
Correct.
please.
Rulis. Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders. Peterson.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Bilshuski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. So we will have an executive session, I believe, in this room up here, right?
Yes.
Oh, sweet, so you can all enjoy cake and everything. Back as quick as we can. Okay, we are back in regular session. Thank you all. Hope you enjoyed the cake. Okay, we are to mayor's report, correct?
Correct.
There should be a list in your packet of the appointments to the boards and commissions. Okay. Have you all seen that? I don't know where it is. You have it, Ken?
You. This is it just Walter and
Yes. So it looks like we're looking for a motion to approve Russell Walter and Ryan Forstall to library board, terms ending May 2022.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call, please.
Coe.
Aye.
Bilshuski. Aye. Funkhauser.
Aye.
Rulis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So just a follow-up note on that too, there were several others, and I was able to get a hold of those folks, but it was after the agenda was posted, so we'll have some more on the next agenda. Okay. We're doing the UDO. Okay. Is there a motion to approve, oh, now, did I read the whole thing? The mayor's appointments for the following individuals to the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, Advisory Committee, Alderman Chris Funkhauser, Deborah Juarez, Jeff Olson, David Schultz, Greg Marker, Billy Q, Matt Heidman, and Mike Torrance. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, so just an FYI, we're looking for 2 aldermen on this. So those of you who are not on that, if any of you are interested, let me know after the meeting. And want to be appointed to that. And Bart, I don't know who's all familiar with this. Do you want to give just like a brief synopsis of this?
Yeah, the UDO is a very progressive development ordinance. Combines building code, zoning code, subdivision improvement code, and a few other codes into one to make them more developer friendly and promote development in Yorkville.
So thank you. Questions on that? So I'm sorry, I should have asked you for that, actually. So, and the one thing I like, and I did discuss this a little bit with Bart, is I like the fact that there's some local people in here, not just the big out-of-town people. I like the fact that we're local input. That's important, so I appreciate that. Okay, seeing no further discussion, we'll take a roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Chirilis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent, thank you so much. Next item we have is selection of mayor pro tem for fiscal year 2020. This is the roll call. So I'm calling for nominations.
I nominate Alderwoman Jackie Wilczewski.
I second. Are there any other nominations? The open nominations are closed, so we need to take a roll call vote on that? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, unless there's discussion, I didn't ask for discussion. No discussion? Jackie, are you okay with this? Awesome.
Thank you.
That helps me get a lot of experience, and I appreciate that very much. I appreciate it. I value being the oldest person, well, not the oldest one, I probably wasn't, the longtime history person on the county board. I value the history of people who've been around the organization a long time, because you just remember things that no one else knows. Like, why did we do this? What's that?
All the useless information.
Well, there's, I have a lot of that too, that's for sure. So thank you. We'll do a roll call vote.
Clocher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Chirilis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I don't know if I'm gonna clap for you. That's important. What's that? No, I don't plan on missing at all. Just never know. Okay. So next we have appointments to city council committees, administration, economic development, public safety, public works. Is there a motion to approve the list?
So move.
Oh,
That was an informational item.
Oh, that was information.
Right, what you
Okay.
are now.
I just get to do that?
Yeah, there's no consent required.
Yeah,
That's pretty
that's-
awesome. Okay, okay, well there, you've got the list there. And I think I spoke to all you on that, and I appreciate you listening and answering my questions. Okay, so next we're, what, the department heads?
Yes.
Okay, wow, we have several. A motion to approve the mayor's appointments as follows. City administrator and budget officer, Bart Olson, term of 6 months through 11/29/19 contract. City clerk, Lisa Pickering, term of 1 year through 5/15/20. City treasurer and director of finance, Rob Frederickson, term of 1 year through 5/15/20. Director of public works, Eric Deuce, term of 1 year through 5/15/20. Actually, all the rest of these are through 5/15/20, so I'll just list the name. Director of parks and recreation, Tim Evans, 1 year. Building inspector, zoning officer, Pete Rados, 1 year. City engineer, Engineering Enterprises, Inc., 1 year, and city attorney, Kathy Orr, 1 year.
Now, we
Oh, you have to, oh, so I don't have, do I need a motion on this?
yes.
Okay, well, I would like a motion on this.
So move.
And then
Second.
there's a second, so do we vote before I swear in? I would think so, okay, well, any discussion? All in favor, or do we have to roll call? What do you tell me?
Voice vote is stands again.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect, now I have to swear you all in.
Well,
Or how does that work? You tell me.
well, as department heads, we'd like to do it as a group, and we'll each say our own name rather than doing it one by one.
I
So
like
those
that idea
that,
too.
those that being appointed,
So
please
do I make it or
stand.
you do it?
We will do it together, those that are.
Oh, do you have like the things to
Yes,
read?
we
or
all
something?
have it, we all have it.
Okay.
Are we all standing? Okay, let us begin. I, your name please, Kathleen Fieldor, having been appointed to the office of city attorney,
City clerk.
City Administrator, Director of Public Works.
Finance Director.
City engineer, director of parks and recreation.
together in the United City of Yorkville, in the county of Kendall aforesaid, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city attorney of the United City of Yorkville, according to the best of my abilities.
I agree, it was great to do all this together. Outstanding. Okay, so we're the city administrative employment agreement. Okay, so we have a city administrative employment agreement. Is there a motion to approve such?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Jarulis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Outstanding. So I'm looking for a motion, where we might have an agenda, for a proclamation for law enforcement appreciation.
A proclamation you may just read.
Oh.
Because your proclamation
Perfect.
don't need to vote.
I like that even better. This is awesome. Okay, so this is the United City of Yorkville's Law Enforcement Appreciation Week proclamation. Take this out. Okay, to recognize National Police Week 2019 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those local, state, and federal law enforcement officers who have died or have been disabled in the line of duty. Whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including dedicated members of the Yorkville Police Department. And whereas nearly 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,000 injuries. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, over 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas at least 144 federal, state, and local names of fallen law enforcement heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, sadly reminding us that public safety comes at a very steep price. And whereas each year, May 15th is designated as Police Officers Memorial Day, in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. And whereas the United City of Yorkville is grateful for the service and dedication of all the law enforcement employees who serve and protect our citizens and for the sacrifices made by their families. Now, therefore, I, John Purcell, Mayor of the United City of Yorkville, do hereby proclaim May 12th through 18th, 2019 as Law Enforcement Appreciation Week in the United City of Yorkville. And I salute the service of law enforcement in our city, our country, and our communities across the nation. Thank you. And we do have here in Kendall County, actually over at the county courthouse, we do have a law enforcement memorial. And Rich, where are you at, Rich? Go over here, sorry. We actually had a dedication earlier, or wait, was it last week?
Yes.
Yeah, for, yes, he was, well, that was back in the 90s,
1993, he died, he was a state trooper on District 5 Joliet, had a heart attack and went into.
Yes, so it hits right here at home too. So thank you all, I appreciate that. Okay.
The next item is, your last item,
Oh, sweet.
resolution.
Okay, last item on the mayor's report is a resolution approving a railway highway grade crossing improvement agreement for Hoover Drive. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, Kathy, give them a little update on this. if you would,
Yes, this is a project that's been pending for a couple of years. What it is that Hoover Forest Preserve is owned by the county, but we entered into an intergovernmental agreement because if we took back the driveway ownership of it, it made all of us mutually eligible for an IDOT grant. So that by this agreement, this is a license agreement, where we give license to Illinois Railway to construct a crossing gates, safety gates, and redo the crossway over the railroad so that it'll be a very safe place, and we have no liability as a city, as part of the intergovernmental agreement. The county has no cost. They are to be paid by IDOT, and the work will be done by Illinois Railroad LLC. So it's been a good agreement. It's been 2 years in the making. We had to go to the Illinois Commerce Commission for petitions and hearings, but we're done. We have one more document that we will probably present to you at the next meeting. That will be the final document to get the project underway.
Questions, comments? So in a earlier capacity at about 5 o'clock this afternoon, I was discussing this at the county board or the Forest Preserve Commission. And the Forest Preserve, I know, would appreciate the support. There's not liability or any cost to the city, but just to give you an idea how good this is for the community. When the Forest Preserve was looking at doing this with the gates and such, there was a potential that was going to cost a couple $100,000 plus. And it turns out the Forest Preserve is going to end up through grants, et cetera, getting $40,000 and not having to pay anything, or a very little amount of that. So for the community, it came out to be almost a $290,000 savings. So I know the Forest Preserve would appreciate the support of it. So anything else? Otherwise, take a roll call, please.
Chirulis.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Krzyzewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That is all the items for vote. I do have a couple items under Mayor's report I just wanted to touch on. In the last 6 weeks, it's hard to believe it's been 6 weeks since the election, I've had many discussions with Bart and Rich and other staff members. I haven't got all the department heads. I apologize. A lot going on, and I appreciate everyone working with me. But just a couple of things I want to touch on while I'm mayor. I will not. There's some things we're going to do, I don't want to say differently, but just things I want to make sure everyone's clear on. And I talked to, again, the staff on most of these issues. One thing is, I heard us campaigning, we want a staff, and, you know, elected officials entirely up to you. I hear good things about elected officials and the staff too, but I want to make sure everyone knows we're going to be responsive, so when we get calls and concerns, we're going to respond. Is it going to necessarily be the same day? No, it depends on the issue, depends on the way it's going on. Staff understands they're going to be a little bit, we're going to be responsive. And we're going to be accountable on financial. I've talked to Bart and Rich. There's been some thresholds, and I've talked to some of you on the council, some thresholds on, staff allowing to spend dollars without getting reviewed by whether it's the mayor or council. We're going to talk about that. We're going to, I guess, we're going to rein in a little bit. I'm not trying to stop anyone from doing the job. But I think there's just some things we need to just look at a little more closely, just so the staff understands we're looking at the dollars, and the residents and the citizens understand that we're looking at the dollars. And the last thing, this is near and dear to me and a lot of people. I can promise you, I'm mayor, there'll be no forced annexations. That's just not going to happen at all while I'm mayor. So those are the only things I had. We'll go on to, what do we have next on the agenda?
Next on the agenda, there's no Public Works, no Economic Development Committee report, no Public Safety Committee report, no Administrative Committee report, but there Fort Park Board Planning and Zoning.
Oh, nice. So do I turn this over to committee member
Chair,
typically?
yes.
Okay, so who would that be?
Yes, you
Staff?
have to take it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll turn it over to staff.
So usually the mayor will introduce these motions, ask for a motion second, and then in discussion, staff get this covered.
I love that idea. So the first item is PEC 2018-18 and EDC 2018-77 ordinance authorizing the third amendment to the Plan Unit Development Plan for Heartland Subdivision Lot 187. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Excellent. Now I'll turn it over to staff for an explanation, please.
Sure. So the petitioner is the Marker Inc. They were the original developers of the Heartland subdivision. This is their third PUD amendment request. The site that they're looking to seek an amendment for, which is actually for a new office building is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of US 34 and Q, which is adjacent to the Casey's. Right now, the site is about 16,000 square feet, and they are looking to construct a two-story office building. The request is to increase the maximum allowable height, to increase the setback. So right now, they are allowed a 20-foot setback. They're looking to decrease it, so increase their area that they can build on to a 10-foot setback. They are also, originally they were seeking an increase in the height of the fence. So this went to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their January 9th meeting, and the recommendation came out of the Planning and Zoning Commission approval of this amendment to reduce that side yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet, but it also further restricted development to not exceed 2 stories in height, and that a fence not exceed 6 feet in height. There were concerns with this project in regards to ingress and egress off of Q. There's only one entrance into the site. There will not be an entrance off of 34. And there was a request to seek access, a joint access point with Casey's. The developer as well as staff reached out to Casey's to see if they were amenable, and we received no response, and that was over a 2 to 3 month period. The petitioner's attorney, Dan Kramer, is here to answer any questions that you have.
Other questions from the council? Mr. Cole, please.
I was one of the ones that had the concern of the separate entrance, because it's a tight intersection there, where 34 is, and so you basically put 2 entranceways kind of side by side, where it makes a lot of sense to merge it with the Casey's exit, and it kind of lines up also if you look at the drawings, and that was one of the things that I was concerned about.
And so you're happy with the way it was addressed?
No, it was addressed.
What's that?
It wasn't addressed.
It wasn't, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah, Casey's has not returned either our calls or the petitioner's calls for the joint access.
Okay. Mr. Funkhauser?
Access is a primary concern for myself here. I know the petitioner asked to have the island in the queue shortened or removed in order to allow them full access, but I don't think that that's something that can be supported here at all. I know some of the options of the plans they were showing CAD A right in, right out, but I think that would be the only viable solution is to make this a right in, right out here. Just because it's such a challenging area as it is already, I think putting something else in here with the full access would be detrimental to the area. It doesn't meet, if I'm correct, our own city standards for setback or spacing from intersections.
Yeah, the city standard is 200 feet.
And we do not meet that. Okay. I know we have granted those variances at times, but I'm not certain that that would be something good here. One of my other concerns is the character of the neighborhood. Right now, the character is all 1-story commercial surrounding this area, and they are asking for a 2-story at this point. I know it's supportable in terms of the parking and the actual zoning. The issue is the character is not consistent with the rest of the commercial neighborhood. That is kind of a concern that I have, that it does create a visual discrepancy between what we have around this area. So those are my couple concerns right off the bat.
Other comments? Please. Mr. Frieders.
Or Alderman Funkhauser brought up this point. This is an EDC, right?
Yeah, last year.
And after the meeting, I had asked them, on the other side of the street, there's the exit from Blackstone. If they cut that island a little bit closer to 34, then we run that risk of people trying to turn left out of that little right in, right out into the Blackstone area. And I know that that area on playoff, let's say Blackhawks or World Series, that right in, right out right there is hectic as heck. So I didn't want to add to the confusion right there by removing that median. I didn't dig any further because I just knew that that wasn't going to work. But also the fact that if somebody's turning right on the McHugh and somebody is already slowed down to turn into that parking lot, I just foresee a lot more bags in that area, and I would like to avoid that. And then also the idea that this is a very odd-shaped, comma wooden lot. And while I would kind of appreciate this to be in the rear of the yard, it is also the narrowest point of the comma. So you literally could not fit the size building we're talking about in that area because the property narrows. And that's where, if we were going to allow a two-story building, I would want the building to be set back off of there before having parking in the front. I know that, you're entitled to build on your property, but right here, because of the size of the lot next to it, and the fact that not only do I think it would be dangerous to attempt to make only a right-in, right-out at that entrance, as far as staging, like having been involved in construction projects, I don't know if there's enough room on the property to build a property the size that you want with all of the stuff that you kind of accrue to start building. So I have all of these concerns, but at the same time, I understand you're left with an eyebrow lot you can't do much with. And I don't ever want to inhibit business, but this is one where we could literally have more accidents at this entrance than, in front of the gas station or at the actual intersection. So this is one where it seems like we're trying to cram something through, and I don't know if I can support it.
Other questions? Wilczewski?
Well, if they're gonna, it's proposed to cut into the island, they would like to do that? No, we took that off?
We suggested it might be a good idea. The committee at EDC said they didn't like the idea. We said, that's fine, it's not our battle.
Just from an engineering standpoint, why do we have an island there?
That's a good question. I mean, that's been there for quite some time.
Because it's within 200 foot of the intersection. They didn't want full access. And we even asked IDOT in this latest reconstruction about 34 if we could remove it back. And they said,
So it's because of IDOT we have an island, or?
because it's too close to the intersection.
Okay.
They don't want full access that close to the intersection, like Joel said, that creates the congestion in the
Right.
traffic.
Because I just think that whole piece of road there with the island and for the businesses there, it just doesn't work. It just.
No, it doesn't work very well for flow, but
Yeah.
for the safety is what it's for.
Mr. Dewis, when you say they don't want it, are you referring to IDOT?
I know.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Proverbial thing.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Kramer, you have anything?
I do. Thank you. I think we've got to take a step back here in time and look from whence this came. And I think your economic development director said probably the most cogent point since we filed it at the Plan Commission, and that is the markers did not create this lot. The city of Yorkville created this lot when they realigned McHugh Road to create the Menards development. So you've got a lot that's zoned for its intended purposes. The city, not you, a city here, or certainly not the mayor, didn't create it, but your predecessors did. So now you've got a piece of property that's properly zoned. They could build up to 80 feet tall on that lot right now if they so chose under the ordinance. The Plan Commission's recommendation was do the 10-foot setback so they can have a little bit more width to the building, limit the building to 2-story, and don't do anything as far as variations as far as the height of the fence, which the markers are perfectly willing to do. We were asked to contact Casey's, and the markers attempted to contact Casey's both through their local manager and corporate over 20 times since we filed this application, and we got 0 response. That's after markers let the general contractor for Casey's use this lot, to Mr. Frieder's point, as the staging area for all the construction on their site at no cost. So no good deed goes unpunished at times. So the fact that you've got an entrance, and it would be like Mr. Funkhauser said, with the median there, it's going to be right in, right out. There's no choice, and we have no quarrel with that. It's not going to be a McDonald's. It's not going to be a 24-hour drive-in. They plan on doing a 2-story office building and moving their own office there. You've seen everything they've built over in Veterans Way. You've seen the preschool. You've seen the building that Blackstone is in, and where the daycare center is now. They built a first-class masonry building. So your choices are to have a bare piece of property that, frankly, I think you folks made a wonderful case for an inverse condemnation tonight for the city to buy the property from the market value. or you put it in the tax rolls and do something useful with it. And an office like that, they would be one tenant with perhaps one or two others. You put it to a good productive use. The driveway is pushed as far south as it can, and with the low intensity use, there's more than enough stacking there. I think as a practical matter, if there was a cut to the left, you'd have a better flow into the Veterans Waste Center. But IDOT's spoken, so again, we're not fighting that battle. But it's a matter of practicality. We've done the best we can with the site. We've done everything staff has asked. And I think the staff reports I've seen don't oppose the 10-foot setback areas. And that's the only amendment we're asking to the agreement. Otherwise, markers could go, give Christie plans, and put up a 40 or 50-foot building that looks somewhat like that hotel by Lyle, that when you're driving eastbound, looks like they have width-wise. So I think you're better off with a better-looking building, limited it to 2-story, and it's a good use for the property.
Other questions of Mr. Kramer or staff? I have some. Thank
And I think the final point is the Plan Commission voted unanimously in favor of it, so you've got an advisory body, and we get no objectors at the hearing. I'm sorry, there was one thing, I don't want to apologize. Deputy Perez.
So, Mr. Kramer, what's the size of this lot?
It's about 15,000 square feet, so a little over a quarter of an acre.
So, to the concern that staging the construction equipment on there, and I know this is a bigger property, but many of the lots in the city are 12,000 square feet.
Actually, your residential ones are much smaller. But staging-wise, the markers have the property still with the daycare center behind it. They can stage there. And Mr. Rakos has the 3 vacant lots next to the daycare center that were the markers that he would love to use it as well.
Okay. Then you mentioned that the city brought this upon itself years ago with the realignment of McHugh Road. Was that, and I don't remember, was that a forced settlement or was that agreed settlement by markers in the city at the time?
Well, I think the city came to markers and said for the Menards development, they wanted to relocate it. I do not believe it was a condemnation.
Okay. And did they bring this issue up at that time, do you know?
That they wanted to build a building?
Well, that this might be an issue with the setback?
No, because there is no front setback issues at all. They meet 34, they meet the McHugh Road, strictly the rear.
Okay, but you're not aware if they brought this issue up at the time?
No, I don't think they had a lot of building at the time.
Okay. And then to staff, again, what was the recommendation? It was 5-1?
Yes, it was 5-1.
Okay, and then you have to, oh, forgive me, out of the committee, EDC committee?
Well, the EDC committee asked us to do 2 things. They asked us not to do the fence, as I recall, and they asked us to contact Casey's. And your staff, thank you for their support. Both Jason and Christie did the same thing, not 20 times, I'm sure, but they made the attempt to get a hold of the corporate at Casey's. We couldn't raise an answer.
And again, forgive me, this is my being new. Out of EDC, is there a vote or is it just a recommendation? Or
No, it's just
discussion.
It's just moving forward.
Okay. Okay. So really, the only thing you're looking for is a side setback, that's what you're telling me?
That's it, 10-foot rear setback next to Casey's.
Okay.
And Casey's did not appear at the hearing or send in any kind of objection.
Any other questions? This requires what, a majority?
Yes.
I'm sorry, please.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's important to note that the comprehensive plan, this proposed use is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan sees this area along 34 is for commercial retail uses and not for office uses. So if this is approved, staff would then have to go back and amend our comprehensive plan to reflect that this is an office use.
Should we change that first, or is it okay to vote on this?
It's fine to vote on it. We can, at the end of the year, then we can just make all of our amendments to our comprehensive plan to reflect what has happened in development throughout that.
But the comprehensive plan you're saying shows retail on here? or commercial?
Correct. It's a destination.
Wouldn't that not have higher traffic counts typically?
It
Precisely.
would. It would. And so what?
So this is a less intense use as far as traffic goes?
Correct. It would.
Okay, thank you. Any other items? Roll call, please.
Transier,
Aye.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Nay.
Ilszewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Nay.
Charulas.
Nay.
5-3, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Short term, short term.
Sweet.
Planning and zoning motion.
Okay.
And then Christian.
Thank you very much. I would accept a motion for PZC 2019-5 and EDC 2019-26 ordinance amending the Yorkville zoning ordinance by allowing short-term rentals in residential zoning districts.
Did you get a motion?
I don't have a motion yet.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now we have a motion second. Please, staff. Thank you.
We were tasked with looking at advancing the zoning ordinance to address new types of land uses, and one of those newer types of land uses are short-term rentals, your Airbnb, VRBO. So we created some language to kind of regulate these land uses. We went to EDC and we got feedback that regulation was not warranted for this type of use because we only had one of these types of short-term rentals listed on these types of websites. So the recommendation was to allow them to be permitted in all of the residential land uses, so you have the E all the way through the R4 district. We took it to a public hearing, it was recommended unanimously, and the only change to our zoning ordinance would be to identify these uses as permitted land uses.
Questions, comments? I have a couple, please. So, we're not going to be regulating these as far as charging fees, was it the hotel tax?
Correct.
Okay. And if we pass this, and I understand the city or the state is looking at some different regulations potentially, but if we pass this in the future and we see there's issues, can we change regulations?
You can change it, you can begin to regulate it. You would have difficulty with anyone that booked it, ahead and can
Okay.
prove the booking of it. So you'd want to give that credibility, grandfather that simple thing. Other than that, yes, sir, you may proceed to regulate at any time in the future.
Even the existing sites?
Even the existing
Barring
sites so
their
long,
consent.
yeah.
And could we exempt them in the future if we chose to? Say they're grandfathered if we want to make regulations going forward?
That would be a bit difficult because on what basis would you exempt this house and not this house? What would be the
Okay.
rational basis? So that would be difficult.
Okay, thank you. No other questions? Oh, please.
Part of the logic behind making the decision not to regulate it was kind of, number one, we have enough government. Why jump ahead of something and kind of pre-regulate it? Two, the administrative costs to manage this would probably be more than the revenue that would come in. If there is a credible threat of somebody abusing, however they're using their residence, that's something that we can kind of approach specifically as opposed to having a blanket ordinance that would then create another layer of bureaucracy that would cost money to administer, but probably wouldn't pay for itself. So rather than having an unfunded mandate on ourselves, the idea was to identify it so that we know what they are and what classification they fall into, but then also allow the state to kind of levy that guidance that would then be, hey, free documentation, and we can kind of adhere to our own kind of municipal rules. But I remember sitting in the meeting with Carlo, and he's like, how many do we have? And we all whipped out our phones and tried to find some. Only 2 or 3 of us could find a residence in Yorkville proper that was even available for Airbnb. I think the most attractive one was a train car a few miles down the road. So we don't have any yet. And the ones that we do have, since they haven't brought up any red flags and Rich doesn't know about it, we're not being told about people using these powers or these abilities, we thought it was a better idea to identify the use, put kind of like the definition in place, and then plan for something coming down the pipe. If it does indeed become something popular in the area, then we can get out ahead of it since we've already done this legwork, beforehand.
Excellent. Other comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Ilszewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Charulas.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks so much. Next item. Item 3. We have PZC 2019-9 and EDC 2019-23 downtown form-based code and streetscape master plan. First reading, items A and B. Is there a motion? We're not doing this, just a reading.
We are
This is first reading.
correct, because it would be part of our code.
Sweet, so
it'd be
we're
first
doing a
reading.
reading, so we'll just turn this over to staff. Oh, the consultant?
Correct, we have Doug Farr from Farr Associates, he's our consultant on the project.
Thank you for coming.
Good evening.
Do you want to, do we like to have a step to the microphone?
Yeah, sure. Jason, will you do that?
You're in the spotlight, Rich.
Sorry. Now that we're all in the dark. Good evening. We're playing a video, so just think of the old black and white silent movie. So we'll just start with that. So this is a flyover of downtown Yorkville, and you can see there's imagery, before and after imagery, and then fasten your seatbelt. We're moving fast. Come here down Bridge Street, scanning over Van Avenue. We're going to land here on Hydraulic. Just a minute. Better? Hello? 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 Is that working? I have to add music to this video. Each of these is illustrating a different street section. Here's hydraulic with lights over the street. Ta-da, if I can have the lights back up. Good evening, Doug Farr, and we started with this little silent movie illustrating the downtown streetscape master plan, which is a companion document to the form-based code. This work started in 2018. We worked closely with Jason and Christy and several folks in the community. We have two documents, and I've been asked to give a 3 to 5 minute introduction, and I'm available to answer any question you have to any level of detail. So, to start with the downtown streetscape master plan. I think it's true of all communities we work in that the greatest asset of each community is its people, and that seems to be true here in Yorkville. In terms of your physical environment, I would argue your downtown is possibly among your greatest physical assets. So what we've done is set a long-term course or plan for the improvement, gradual incremental improvement of the downtown, which is a combination of public investment and guidance, as well as private investment that responds to the public investment and guidance. So what we've done is regulated, planned and regulated according to streets. And this is probably the sort of latest thinking in planning circles. For a long time, regulations and development was managed parcel by parcel. What we recognize about a place like downtown Yorkville is its greatest sort of asset of public spaces, which is, of course, the river corridor, both banks of it, but as well as at the streets. So big streets, Bridge Street, Hydraulic Street, Van Emmon Street. So the regulations in the plan are by streets. And there's a hierarchy of streets. Bridge is sort of our so-called A Street, Hydraulic and Van Emmon sort of our B streets, and then the remainder of the downtown is kind of the third tier of street importance. But Building heights, setbacks, and things like that are all regulated by the character of each street. And if you get down into the details, when you get to an intersection, the street higher in the hierarchy governs 4 corners of that intersection, and then you turn a corner and then you're regulating 1 level down. So there's a lot of detail here. I believe council has seen this, or hope and believe they have, so I won't go into further detail unless there are questions on that.
Could you just pull a Vanna White and show the audience?
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. I've seen the show, I'm not into it, but here we go, yeah. So all the different streets and kind of a view, not unlike the video we just saw a minute ago, what that street would look like, were it to be more fully developed. So that was A.
Any council members have questions on that slide? We call it a slide. You can always backtrack.
Yeah. And we've got, particularly for the form-based code, we've got every page up in a PDF, so if you want to ask a really detailed question, we can put that up in the
So
screen.
you did a nice public hearing on this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I actually came to it, it was nice.
Yeah, and so the master plan sets out a vision for the streets, which, as we all know, zoning doesn't govern streets. It's really public works and public investment. So, but the master plan, nonetheless, we hope will guide decisions made by council and the city in the improvement of its streets. When it comes to the private parcels, that's where the form-based code comes in. So the term form-based code is about 30 years old now. It can be traced back to the year 1980. And the resort development in Florida called Seaside, Florida was the first use of form-based code in the United States. So that was 29 years ago. And that has, again, this emphasis on the creation of public spaces. Typically, simple things like streets, create a lot of character of a place. So a lot of times the regulations of buildings in conventional zoning didn't necessarily create a great street. Sometimes buildings forgot to put front doors on the front. They'd forget to put windows on the front. They'd have a big setback in a parking lot in the front. And all those things make a place less walkable and less special. So that's kind of what the big philosophy here is. And again, as I said, the hierarchy of streets is bridge is our kind of A street, hydraulic is our B street, and then Van our kind of next tier down, and then the remainder of the streets in the downtown. So we regulate by, again, by street, kind of the intensity and placement of buildings on a lot. It's governed by the street it sits on. And then we govern by building type, which is, I think, probably pretty much an innovation for anyone who's accustomed to conventional zoning. And what that means is any building you want to, I'll take you through a hypothetical. I own a piece of property, it's here. I look up and see what street it's on, and then I look for that street to see what building types are permitted as of right. There's a whole list of menu of those building types. And so if I want to build that building, there are, I think, 6. So they're downtown commercial, downtown living, they're cottage commercial, attached buildings, yard buildings, and I think maybe there's just 5. So but regardless, they are essentially describing whether they're multi-story mixed use, mostly commercial or mostly residential, whether they're freestanding but occupy a large portion of the site, or they're more housing types, like a townhouse that would have an attached shared wall or a standalone single-family house. So those are kind of the categories. So, and the 6th one is civic, or civic buildings, special buildings. So, but what's cool about it is that in a 2-page spread, once you pick the building you want to build, all of the regulations that pertain to that one building are on a 2-page spread. So a lot of times the zoning code will say, well, your bulk requirements are in Chapter 2, and your height regulations are in Chapter 6, and parking is Chapter 9, and curb cuts is 7, and so you got to jump around. We pull it all to a 2-page spread. So it's really meant to be user-friendly. It's meant to be also visual for those of us who aren't attorneys and can't read, that kind of legalese stuff. The pictures actually are governing. They have authority to be the law, the instrument of the law. The diagram that you can read with plain eyes and interpret how it applies is the regulating legal instrument. So that's the philosophy, and maybe I could just pause and see if there are questions. Is that enough detail, or proceed? You want me to keep going?
Wait, make sure you show the audience.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Has anyone talked to any any of the property owners in the second ward about how they feel about your plan? Because I live in the second ward, I've been to one meeting and no one asked me what I thought.
Excuse me, actually, this is a presentation. If you want to have public comment at the end of the meeting,
We
I think there's an opportunity.
have an opportunity for comment.
But I don't know that we'll do an exchange at that point. You can ask questions and staff can get the answers back to you.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Please.
So I can, I can keep going. I have a 2-hour version.
Oh, no,
or
not
a
no,
5
for me,
minute.
you don't.
I'm good. I'll go all night. I love this stuff a little too much. But what I would say is, if I had a kind of, the things that I can say while I'm here, downtowns don't just happen. They happen because people manage them and invest in them. And so a lot of towns we work with are interested in private development and want to see investment, tax collections go up, the vitality of the downtown. And I'll just say the private sector responds a lot to the leadership of the public sector. So if you feel like you're getting applications for building permits and the quality is not good, in my experience, the town sets the culture of quality. So if you're doing excellent things and everything's beautiful and thoughtful, you have communicated the culture of your place and with it an expectation of excellence in design. So I think Christie's and Jason have a first wave of implementation projects here, a couple of which come straight out of the Streetscape Master Plan, including tactical art projects. So this is one of the lowest cost ways to add a lot of interest and vitality in a downtown. So I think it's like a large scale chessboard. There's like a temporary beach. I don't know, all these kind of sort of activities. So it's not something to sort of stand back and observe. It's something to go and play with, bring the kids, have a picnic and play chess, whatever. So those are the kind of again, some very current ideas from the sort of cutting edge of thinking in terms of how you get people excited about a place for low cost. So that's what we got. And so they're pretty well established form-based codes. The biggest one we worked on was the city of Chicago, which adopted a form-based code in its P streets in 2004, so that's 15 years old. That was governing 26 miles of commercially zoned streets in the city of Chicago. So there's only been one challenge to it, and Alderman wanted to exempt it to build a drive-through McDonald's, to sort of remove the coverage, built the McDonald's, and then we installed the coverage so no one else could do it. So
Let me ask, are there any questions from the Alderman at all? Milszewski? Mrs., sorry.
Good, you're fine. It's really just a comment, kind of. I'm looking at, what am I in? The Streetscape Master Plan?
Sure.
And just for instance, I'm on page 62, I noticed this kind of runs through.
Yeah.
And
Do you have a particular page you're looking at? I'm sorry.
page 62.
62,
It's a
okay.
good example of this. And you have it color coded for what the key is of, what's state-owned, county-owned.
Yeah.
You actually have a piece of city property, which you have as private ownership, color coded.
So we have a misclassified?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thank you
it's
for.
quite a large piece. It's the piece where the Van Emmon Activity Center is.
Yeah.
Building.
We
You'll
will,
make it.
yeah, good catch. We will catch that.
Yeah, we had spoke about it.
Go, please.
We had spoke about this in a couple of these back in the EDC committee several months ago for that one. And that does follow through with all of the exhibits that are within the document.
Yeah, it's wrong on all of them.
With that, there's a piece of park that's noted. We have one of the public pieces of property on the backside of the downtown core block. There are a few of those kind of things that were not picked up on.
I apologize.
I know
they were mentioned the last time, and I thought they'd been picked up. I wonder if we printed an old version.
Mr. Funkhauser, are there others that you want to just make sure you email?
Yeah, those kind of things we can shoot emails out on. But when it comes to the actual streets, I don't know if anybody else has comments, but we can go through streets if we want to now. I've noticed a couple of these kind of things as we're proposing in Street B. We're going to go through Streetscape.
What page you on? Which book?
Street B actually relates to pages, we're talking pages, this goes 28, 29, 30, Oh, I'm sorry, no, 30.
Are you hoping to go through each street individually?
I'll bring up a couple comments.
A couple comments,
on this.
please.
I'm not going to go through the detail. I'll
Okay.
bring a couple key elements. Street B, the plan that is on that one there, or for that is a long-term, putting in the bioswale along the sides with the curbless gravel strip. So if you go to page 37, actually, that's the long-term graphic.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Which is described in the text in other places as well. But one of my concerns is, as we've been going through redoing the streets in the downtown core, we've been paving them to the extent, actually widening them a little bit, taking out the gravel curbs, and now we have a plan to come in with the downtown core to put in gravel strips along the edges. And I understand from the language, the intent is to define an edge. I'm not sure how Public Works feels, but I personally, I think that adding the gravel strip in perpetuity is more of a maintenance thing that we would have. I think gravel strips are more rural character as compared to downtown core. If we're going to do something, let's do a mountable roll curve kind of thing if we're going to do it. I don't think adding gravel back in is necessarily appropriate for our downtown. I don't recall many downtowns that have modernized that. I've seen that. But I do understand the intent is to define an edge. So I think that's something I would like to see removed from the plan so we can make it a little more clean edge. But with that as well.
Alderman, just to clear, I'm sorry, I was grabbing a pen. Are you referring to page 36?
37 has the graphic.
38 is.
38 has the gravel street apron as number 6 on the top of the page. And then it's also illustrated on 39.
Okay. If I can comment, on page 36, I'm sorry the audience is not following along, but I guess that's how meetings sometimes go. The recommendation, you've captured the gravel apron, I agree, is not appropriate in the downtown, but if you look at figure 52 on page 36, where the stormwater facility is bounded by, like you said, defined, is the right move. The rough gravel is a rural section, so those images, I agree with you.
So subsequently on page 37, 38, and 39, those all illustrate the gravel strip. I think if there's consensus, I would like to see that one modified.
Yeah.
Incorporate, whether it's a flat concrete barrier at the edge, something that sort that creates an edge.
Any objection? Go ahead, please.
Sure, so staff reviewed this with the engineer and public works director, and there were comments about having gravel edge, about the maintenance of it. The intent in this particular area is not part of the commercial core of the downtown. So these are your B streets, your services, and this is actually the residential portion of it, leading along to the vista toward the Fox River. Staff felt that because of this area, the setback of the homes and creating that kind of downtown, we got feedback from the public when we had the sessions, the working sessions, that the feel that the commercial core of the downtown was to have curb and gutter and more structure to the downtown area. But the rural character they wanted to keep in regards to the residential portion. And that's also reflected in our neighborhood design manual, that we wanted to keep that rural character. So we're open to changing it, but that was the thought process behind having that type of rural character in the residential portion, kind of juxtaposition to the historic commercial core downtown.
And I appreciate that, I understand that, but I think as we're defining a downtown core, including residential, I think it's prudent to be thinking of long-term maintenance, snow plowing. How does that edge work over 10, 20 years in terms of gravel migrating as compared to having a concrete barrier? If we're talking about putting in bioswales at the edge of that, the gravel has potential to migrate into it because the material that's going to be within those bioswales is going to be an amended soil. We're going to have potential for that to move. I think it's better served in this area as we're planning to plan for having something more defined, something more written.
Other comments? No other comments?
general?
About gravel?
No, I just, in general, here's where, I guess I'm gonna interject here now. If you wanna get into these, and I'm not criticizing the comments, I think there's some very valid points. I don't know that we wanna sit here and go in the
Right.
technical detail at this hearing here or reading. Again, help me here, what does it typically do? We have another reading at another date?
We would pass it at the next regular meeting if it is in final form.
Okay, well, here's what I would suggest, and there's a lot here. Everyone take a look at it, put together any questions you have, email them to Bart. Bart will get those consolidated. He will shoot them out to everyone so everyone has a chance to look at those. And depending on how many there are, maybe we'll do it the next meeting, maybe we don't. But otherwise, we can go on and on. And I'm not criticizing the comments at all, but I think we can be at 10:30 because
We could. I just, in that case, I would like to see that, you know, if we're gonna do it that way, then it comes back for another discussion with all the comments and.
I have no problem with it.
Because I think there could be some, you know, the lights across the streets, I mean, those are a big potential issue for, you know, cost and what we want to do, how we want that to appear, so. those kind
So
of-
here's a suggestion, and I like it more and more. Maybe the rest of you don't, so we'll hear it. What if we get the comments, send it back to committee, let the committee discuss it with the comments?
I would just suggest you can always send it back to the committee first.
Is that a motion?
Yes, a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Which committee is this? EDC? Okay, so still, get your comments to staff, you know, and you can always add them later, I'm not saying you can't. Shoot them an email if you can, if you call them, I don't care how you do, but get your comments to staff, please. We'll send it back to EDC, and then EDC can regurgitate those and flip it back forward at some point. If it's next meeting, well, it'll be next meeting, month, two, whatever it is. Okay, so, any discussion on the motion, all in favor, send it back to me, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, sweet, I like that. Okay,
All done?
yeah, thank you so much, yeah, just, we could go on and on.
Yep.
I think the second meeting, right? So,
Mayor, I just wanted to share, I believe this is my last meeting I'm planning to attend. So if you have questions, I'm available right now. If you have questions in the future, less so. So just offering that.
oh, so you don't come back unless,
Nope.
you don't come back at all?
The contract really allowed for a certain amount of meetings, so this is the last week that Doug is available. The staff will definitely be available. We have people involved in the document, so they will be addressed.
Duly noted, thank you so much. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so where are we at? We are city council report. Oh, yeah, admin. 2018-88 sale of 111 West Madison Street, Old Jail. I think this is just an update, correct?
Yeah, there's a brief memo in the packet. Both proposals are still conducting due diligence, scheduling supplemental walkthroughs, and looking at our calendar over the next couple weeks. I doubt that this will be on for a detailed discussion, complete with their TIF proposals for the next city council meeting. It'll probably be the first one. So the intent was, as I was hoping to invite them, meet with us as staff individually so we could make sure that the proposals are vetted in order so that they would be apples. And I'm out of town. So I guess her next.
Oh, we are, huh?
Yep, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Excellent. That's right, I'm home too. Any questions on the Old Jail? Perfect. Okay, so next item, city clerk's report. Do we have a report?
No report,
City clerk, I like that. Community and liaison reports, any of those tonight? Please.
Been working on the 2019 National Suicide Prevention and Action Month Proclamation Project. As of this morning, we were at 63 cities, 5 counties, and 20 different states. When I sat down at my desk, I got another email from the community of Western Springs. They will be community number 64. And I was informed by their clerk that their 22-year-old daughter completed suicide on January 30th of this year. Also, we've had another couple local suicides as of late. The conversation isn't getting any easier, but doing my best to continue to talk about it. I've been working with a group out of Chicago called Hope for the Day. Last month, Ended up brewing a beer with Old Irving Brewing, which will be available on Thursday, called Hops of Hope, which might sound funny to you, but it's a double dry hopped New England IPA, 7.5% alcohol. It's delicious, but actually on the can is resource information. There's been a lot of discussion about, well, why are you putting conversations about suicide on a can of beer? Well, the founder of Hope for the Day, his uncle, basically drank himself to death. So maybe there's a chance that while you are open to, I know that after a couple cocktails myself, I'm open to talk about pretty much anything. So maybe that is an open door to continue the conversation with those of us who don't normally speak while sober. I've had a lot of conversations about whether that's ethical or not, and I can tell you there's nothing ethical about suffering the loss of one of your friends or family. So, that's this Thursday, Hops for Hope, or Hops of Hope. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. Also, last month at the end of April, I visited the city of Westmont, or village of Westmont, along with Hope for the Day, and a gentleman named Chris Vitek. His 23-year-old son, Jimmy, completed suicide in 2014. He had a presentation put together for the village, and the alderman who read the proclamation lost both his brother and his brother-in-law within 18 months of each other. These conversations suck. I intend, while I'm sitting in this seat, to continue talking about it. I don't know how much longer I can physically handle these stories. But I just want to kind of commend everyone here for allowing me to, kind of work through this frustrating pain to continue talking about something that is important to me. So I just, number one, thank you for allowing me to continue. I know that my first phone call to you after you won was, hey, congratulations and all, but can I keep talking about suicide on behalf of the city of Yorkville?
Indeed it was.
Thank you, sir, for allowing me to continue this project. Former Mayor Galinsky was instrumental in allowing me to kind of work through this. I don't know where it's going, but now that I'm getting more of an education on how I can communicate with communities. I'm learning that there is possibilities for cities like Yorkville, 19,000, 20,000 people, to actually have a direct impact on people's lives by just saying it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have a crappy day. It's okay to have a good day. I think we're all works in progress. I know I'm not the person I am today that I was, 2 weeks ago. Sorry for dropping the S-bomb. But I'm becoming more and more aware that we're not having this conversation in the office. We're not having this conversation in the gym. We're not having this conversation at the police station. We're having this conversation in the morgue. And it's killing me. So, talk about suicide. If you want to talk to me about suicide, my phone number is all over the freaking internet, so have at it. I'm sick of suffering, and I'm sick of people not taking responsibility for the words that they use. So if we can focus on the words that we're using to talk about suicide and maybe change 1 or 2 words. Instead of using the word committed, we use the word completed. Instead of continuing to judge the people who completed suicide, you can't judge someone if you don't know their situation. So for everyone in here, I love you. Thank you for existing.
Thank you. Any other reports? Staff reports?
Just one item, Your Honor. The Parks and Recreation Department is celebrating National Take Your Parents to the Playground Day.
Oh, geez.
So we're encouraging kids to take their parents to one of
I
our
don't wanna
26
go.
themed playgrounds in the city. And that day is Sunday, May 9th. So we hope to see everybody out on the playgrounds.
We won't be there, will we?
We will not be.
Yes. There are a lot of awesome parks too. Tim, go ahead.
Yes, I have one other one that I just realized. Also, the Yorkville American Legion Annual Memorial Day Service is Monday, May 27th. That's before the next city council meeting. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about it. It's to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. It's at 11:30 a.m. at Times Square.
Thank you very much. Please continue to remind me.
I will. Thank you.
Other staff reports, additional business, we already did executive session. Citizen comments? Is there a motion to adjourn? Did I miss something?
No.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Okay.